he didn't give a number.
Oh,
And we're back on another exciting episode of So Pro Starfleet Boy. Hashtag So Pro.
so bro, I'm sending a text. I haven't got my notes. So bro, I wasn't ready. Okay, I'm here.
Yeah,
But the camera's not focused. Everything's broken. Okay.
I love it. It's kind of cool that the audience gets to see uh, what this normally very well polished show off guard every once in a while. All right. I actually just while I was waiting for you, you know how like when you're waiting on something, sometimes you do things just like on the whim.
Mm-hmm.
I put out a poll uh, on the Twitter about this episode, so we'll know hopefully by the end of our discussion what the Twitter audience thinks.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's like there's a meta. Today's ratings are gonna be super meta. We're we're gonna need algebra to figure out the final rating.
Okay.
All right, so let's see what happens. Star Trek: The Next Generation, the next phase. I always extend the courtesy. Would you like to do the summary, or shall I?
No, I did a recent summary, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You do enough. You're off the hook. You're not obligé anymore. You're a
Really?
seasoned vet. You're my XO. The previous XO.
I now have the privilege of deciding when I can do my episode summaries because I do.
The previous XO was found walking in plant dirt in his quarters, shooting at a television screen.
And there we go, The Expanse. It drops.
Boom, boom. Got to get in there somehow. All right. So what were you saying?
I was saying you're going to do the episode summary. That's what I was saying.
Oh, easy peasy. All right. So there is a Romulan ship that is in need of aid. So the Enterprise goes and offers its aid. In fact, the episode just starts on, we're on this Romulan ship helping the Romulans out. They're having some kind of problem. They had a explosion. So Geordi discovers that he needs to like take this one part and replicate it. So he lets Commander Riker know, and Riker's like, asks the commander of the Romulan ship, can we replicate this? It's all very cool in terms of this like beginning scenes procedure, by the way, like how they handled all the security and everything like that. But anyways, Geordi and Ensign Ro are going to beam back to the ship to get this thing replicated, and then there's a transporter accident and everyone assumes they're dead. However, including the audience, if you're watching this for the first time, you might have thought they were actually dead, but they're not dead.
It must have been a very interesting first watch when it first came out on TV.
Yeah, I do actually remember wondering where the show, what direction the show was going in. But I also thought, just like kind of halfway through, I remember being like, oh, they're, once they reveal it to us that there might be a scientific explanation for it, it was like, I went on that.
I know I should keep
and actually
because you're doing the summary, but they do keep it hold. They do keep us like 11 minutes wondering.
Yeah, it's a really good.
See them for 11 minutes out of what 43, I think it is. So that is quite a long time to hold it.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
And I mean, Geordi, you kind of guessed, well, they're not going to kill Geordi, right? But then you're thinking Ensign Ro, maybe they would, she's not the main character. So maybe they did do this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a little anxiety about whether or not this was the fair.
It's cliche that in the 90s, the black guy would always die first.
Was that a cliche?
Yeah, it's always been a cliche.
Is that true?
Yes. How can you not?
I don't really think so. I mean, the shows I watched, lots of people died.
Movies.
Oh, well, the movies I watched, like
in horror,
like it was equal.
You'd always have. They would always have this. I suppose it was this misrepresented token black guy that they would have in the movies, that he would be like the wisecracking black guy, but then he.
I don't disagree that there were poorly executed like B movies that like definitely had like token anything characters. I mean, like you're focusing on black people, but Asians get characterized a lot, and so do Hispanics actually, which is not as common, but you do. And then the Irish seem to always get characterized as well. So
okay,
and the French, yeah, the French seem to get characterized. So I don't know what you're trying to say here, Sean, but I grew up in a different world. Yeah, sorry. Okay. All right. Get off my summary. Get off my goddamn summary. Let me do the goddamn summary.
Texting while you do your summary.
Or you do summaries from now on, young XO. I don't even remember what I was saying. Well, anyways, you're terrible. You're terrible. You totally got me off track. But since you did that, I'm just gonna do this to you.
I'm your favorite host that you love to hate.
I don't hate you at all, actually. I think you're quite awesome.
Oh, look at that.
You're also, hold on, I'm doing something here. You're also one of the most ubiquitous. Do you hear it? Do you hear in the background what it is?
This is a team section.
Audience, we're out of phase. We're out of phase in this episode, and that's why we're acting so crazy right now. To be appropriate to. Oh, what did I do?
You're watching The Expanse. I'm sending messages. This isn't professional at all. The episode is really good.
What's that?
The episode is really good. We should be talking about it.
I know it's good. We are going to talk about it, but I just have to get this out of my face, my system, down my face. Hold on, this has to get out of my system. It's my show, goddammit! You sidetracked me. No.
I'll just.
Who are you texting? If we may, the Starfleet audience at large, if we may, who I represent, if we may ask, who are you texting?
I send messages to my friends because, as you know, because I've sent this privately to you, I took a picture of my baby on the tube holding a
Oh, that's right.
phaser, and so I've been sending that to my mom and my friends and what have you, and so I've finished now. It's over. I'm done. I'm with you somewhere.
Very good, very proper. So, all right. Anyways, they think they're dead. Well, Ro thinks she's dead at first because she's kind of wandering the ship alone, and then she meets Geordi and she convinces him or tries to convince him rather, that they're both dead, and Geordi's just not having it. He refuses to believe that the afterlife is with Ensign Ro on the Enterprise. He's like expecting a beach with like beautiful people and like lots of he was expecting a heaven, I presume. Of some sort, if anything at all.
Non-awkward interactions with women. That's what we were expecting. Right?
Yes, exactly.
He's lucky in life, so he wanted to be lucky.
Wow, you actually nailed it. That's true. It's totally true. But Ensign Ro and apparently Bajoran heaven seems really boring because it's a lot of like hours of like praying and things like that. So what's that?
They do seem like a boring people.
Oh my god. Are they the token boring people, perhaps? Anyway, since we're talking about tokens, anyway, she's the first. She's the first
time as well. They have this. Anyway, moving on.
They are all a little aggro, but you would be too if the Cardassians occupied your homeworld for over 30 years or whatever it was.
I guess so. Because Brian's a human and he's constantly angry. God.
It keeps trying. It keeps trying to come in. It's so beautiful. Okay.
It is.
Anyways,
that is the correct
data
to do a title sequence and a theme song. By the way, if anyone's create a TV show.
something cool Discovery can do. We're gonna have we're gonna have a moment since we're talking about title sequences. So something really great that Battlestar Galactica did in its opening credits is that the opening credits would change slightly to like remind you of certain important things. And Game of Thrones does this also. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but like sometimes you
have to notice. Game of Thrones started at what, 30 seconds? Now it's like 7 minutes.
This is the longest opening title sequence and the most monotonous music. No, I love the Game of Thrones. So
we put it on.
It's so good.
Yeah, Babylon keep doing that as well. I realized that each season
were they?
Yeah, they were updating it to like change because they have the Shadow War and then it changes and this and that. So
that's cool. That's clever. So, anyways, Battlestar Galactica did it, and The Expanse kind of does it a little bit too.
I'm kind of hoping we see a different opening like a title sequence for Discovery. I also want to understand why the hell they had the hand thing in Discovery.
Like touching God or whatever. Yeah, but Leonardo da Vinci's reference there. But you're right. I do hope we have a different opening title sequence for season 2. I think that would be really awesome. What's that?
A montage of Pike.
I know.
And like a bonus Chris Evans for no reason. I mean, why wouldn't you?
The psychologists are going to be watching these episodes and they'll be like, that guy Sean has some interesting opinions about Chris Evans and Anson Mount. But I don't blame you. Who could? Yeah. So anyways, Data is trying to figure out what's causing these like residual Artron. Was it Artron radiation?
Chronoton. Come on, boy.
Oh, darn it. Chronoton particles. Artron radiation is from Doctor Who.
Chronoton particles are like a recurring particle, by the way, in a lot of modern Star Trek, like TNG, Deep Space Nine.
Right, because it has to do with cloaking and stuff like that. But anyways,
shenanigans.
Anyways, it's discovered throughout the episode that the Romulans are working on an experimental cloaking device, which is a phase cloak, and we actually come back to this technology later on because it turns out the Federation was also working on something like this.
On this episode, the Romulans had based their like research on initial Klingon research. Apparently, that's what.
Right. Apparently, yeah. And yeah. So interesting.
Dealing with this as well. Everyone's trying to cloak and become things. Or,
well, what a phase cloak. What the reason a phase cloak is amazing is the episode, like a ship could actually like pass through solid, solid things like any matter actually unharmed, and so it could sit in the middle of a planet, for example, and hide out where you can't even get it. Like, and so it can really do some crazy stuff. It's like deep science fiction,
but it's the kind of thing that you don't want to go. Like if your warp drive goes wrong, you essentially come to a full stop, or you go too far. And then you can just get home, right? But if
imagine
you kind of become part of the planet, which is not something you're looking forward to.
That's why we don't see phase cloaks, because it's probably too unstable. Yada 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 yada. But anyways, the Pegasus does it though. And God damn, Will! I thought I could trust you, and then you put this bomb on our friendship. Shit. How am I supposed to get you out of this one?
Unforgotten thing to say. Shit.
It'd be great if in the sequel to TNG,
saying swear words all the time. So
but that they have like, I think that the Picard show would be a great. I think the Picard show would be a great show to bring expletives into Star Trek with, and just hearing Patrick Stewart as Picard say shit will be
of humanity.
What's that?
He strives to be the best of humanity. He wouldn't say swear.
You think cursing is a bad thing?
Well, I was told so. I don't think.
And those who told you so cursed in private as well. There was a study that came that it actually
very little curse words.
Oh, that's in front of you and Le Bébé, but perhaps in her mind she's like, mad. Mad.
I love your French, by the way.
Thank you. Anyways, finally, the episode culminates in there's a couple things going on. It's a pretty cool episode in that regard. And so other than trying to figure out what these chronoton particles are doing and trying to get rid of them so they can actually safely warp, Geordi and Ro are on a mission to stop them from warping, and also to try to get back to being solid, because the Romulans are super schemy. Even though the Enterprise is trying to help, they decide to send back a muon. A muon, what was it? A muon wave, I think, or something like that. Or they sent muons in a wave back to the Enterprise, which is giving the Romulan ship energy in a very interesting way, which we can talk about too.
The is like his officer says, "Will make them explode."
This is like super. So now we have a time limit, because once the Enterprise finishes the repairs and warps, it's going to go kaboom and blow up. So we're racing against time. Anyways, also there happens to be a Romulan Centurion that is also phased, and he realizes that Geordi and Ro are in phase, so he decides to try to stop them, even though he's out of phase and he's bummed in the beginning shot. He's like, how the hell am I ever gonna get out of this? Like, he has, at least Ro has Geordi, who's like trying to figure it out, using his mad science skills, but like this guy was just on his own. He was just great. Now this is the rest of my life. And the Romulans, if they're not interested, they're like, oh, the guy disappeared, whoop-de-doo. Another casualty. Forget it. They don't have a data looking at chronoton particles.
For the Star Empire, right? Come on.
Right. Are they token Romulans? Anyways, I'm just curious. So are they?
Wouldn't Spock be the token Romulan? Because somehow no one notices.
You mean he would be the... Isn't Spock the token Vulcan, though?
Yeah, token Vulcan, maybe.
Perhaps.
Well, he's always been the token Vulcan, because he's not really Vulcan. And now he has a beard, so that everyone's offended now.
Wow, the summary is already 17 minutes long.
I know. Isn't this short?
Okay, sorry. We gotta bring this up.
Am I allowed to vote on the poll that you did on Twitter? Or
I won't know. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me who voted. It's perfect. You could totally vote.
Okay, can I vote like 16 times with all of these different accounts?
It only
hack the system. No, I can only vote once. But... Oh wow!
Audience, they can't hear this. Oh yeah, the poll's gonna be on for 24 hours. I don't know if I'm publishing this one today or next week, so
okay.
It's gonna be really meta. We'll see. It might be today. Well, I might wait till the poll ends to publish this episode, just to see what your influence can gather. Or can't gather. Anyways, so also in the meantime, Data is striving to create the perfect memorial for Ro and Geordi, and he comes up with a party, which I think is great. And I'm just going on record as saying that is exactly the kind of memorial I would like for myself.
We see balloons, other than the episode of Discovery in Star Trek.
What? I find that hard to believe.
I don't know. This is the only time I've ever noticed that there's balloons. There were balloons in the frat party that we had in Discovery, but then,
well, TNG did it first or later, depending on where you're talking about. Discovery's trying to do everything first, but sorry, Discovery. Someone already did.
All right.
Sorry, we did that already.
Even completely redesigning the Klingons you didn't do first. So
right, this is true. This is true.
I mean,
do something first for real, god damn it.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
Yeah.
Even your ship isn't done first. It's like based on an old design that was rejected.
I like when you get that sarcasm voice. Even your ship isn't done first. Yeah, I'm from the 1920s now.
Hey.
Which is gonna be really fun talking.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really fun talking about times doing the Times Arrow California Western accents with you.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna train Mark Twain.
I've been doing this one for years. Could you help out a 49er? It's like my favorite one. That's like my favorite guy in the episode.
So, we're doing this episode in advance, right?
Well, we're not limited by time or space or dimensions. Finally,
I am.
although there's 20 minutes later, finally, the culmination of all these efforts. And by the way, they kicked this Romulan out into space, which I have a lot of questions about how the phasing works that you may help me answer.
No.
But anyways, they kicked this Romulan out into space, and Data and Geordi and Ro end up at the memorial, and just before Ro can find out what Commander Riker was going to say about her, they blow up a phaser to create tons of these particles, forcing Data to use the most powerful setting for the decontamination sweep, and that causes them to phase back into reality. There was an earlier scene that I forgot to tell you where Geordi discovers that the beam that he's cleaning these particles with also reconstitutes their bodies. So that's how crazy dense this episode is. Anyways, so they reappear, and Geordi, how quickly his crew forget him, tries to stop the Enterprise from warping, and the response is, Captain Picard, was that order coming from you? He's like, that was Mr. LaForge, god damn it. Don't warp. Shit, Geordi. What the fuck? We all thought you were dead.
I'll have none of this. You're dead or you're alive.
God damn it, I was hoping to get drunk. All right, and that's it.
Drunk. He walks into Tin Ford with a huge grin on his face, like, "Hey,
I know, he's so happy.
I'll pick up my trombone and pick up a woman, all right?"
Oh boy, not the captain, not Captain Picard. All right, now that we got through the summary shot, what should we talk about? Should we talk about the sciencey stuff, or the religious stuff, or the philosophical stuff, or can I?
Phasing it doesn't work first.
Wait, what's that?
The phasing. Let's talk about how the phasing doesn't work right.
Let's get that out of the way.
I don't understand that. All right, I love the whole concept of the episode. I don't understand why they don't phase through the floor, because they had the same walls and then they throw out of the bulkhead. But then how is he affected by the non-oxygen that's in like space? Because they're not in the they're occupying the same space, so they need oxygen still, or they need like an environment, an atmosphere, right?
My impression is that they're out of phase, and there's something about being in that state where at the end Geordi has to eat like a lot of food. He's starving, right? So it implies that like they would have died eventually, like in this phased state.
Bring food with them. Like everyone should have like a compulsory food basket on them in case this happens.
Right, like nothing. Yeah, exactly. But I wonder also if like phase space is a place where they would have found, like, what if this Romulan ends up somehow landing on a planet? And because it was weird, like there's that one scene where Ro's touching the panels and she realizes it's solid, so she's also like, what's solid and what's not. Like I think phasing is probably something so complicated. What's that?
Romulan dude was sitting on a chair originally. I was like, why is he sitting on a chair? Because they tricked thinking that he's not phased, but he is. But then part of the trap was that he was sitting on a chair, and that's why it didn't occur to you. If he was just standing in the corner of the room, you'd be like, Why is this guy not?
What I think is happening is that when the phase cloak failed, at least on, you know, like what I'm guessing is happening, if I had to explain it, is that it created these like waves or you know, like unleashed these like phase waves or particles, and so they're just kind of like blobs floating around near the Romulan ship. And so I think that like sometimes it also affects environments, and that's why there were like these chronoton particles or whatever. So that would be a good way to like explain the ambiguity presented by, I think, the phase cloak. But but I couldn't make sense of it. Like I couldn't make sense of it back then when I first saw it, and I can't really make sense of it now either. But I think it's one of those.
It is a mistake.
What's that?
It's just, in all fairness, I think it is just a mistake, and it was like they need to be walking on the ground, and they need to pass through this bulkhead.
Well, but you could argue that, like, for example, the artificial gravity generators might actually affect phase space in some way. So you know what I mean? Like maybe,
but phasing works. They're in some sort of state of flux, and so you just don't know what's going on, right?
Right, exactly. So that's the way that I think you can buy it, and it can just work. But it is interesting that, like,
plot.
What's that?
It all happens to work in favor of the plot.
Of course. But that aside, I think it, like, the episode for me still wins in a sense, because yes, that's like a huge thing. Like it's a huge kind of like mystery, but it's not really the main point of this episode, I don't think. Like I think it was clear.
We're watching this.
What's that?
We're watching this episode with like a critical eye, and so
correct, yeah,
kind of comes at us like, wait a minute, but that's not the focus of the episode.
Right. The focus is definitely, like, I think, the idea of life after death, and then like you know, like how the crew would have mourned. I do remember, like, if we're talking about, you know, things that shows do over and over again, whether they're good or bad, it's this idea of, like, you know, and I remember, I can't remember specifically what shows, but I just remember it happening a lot where, like, you know, people think you're dead, and or you're in a ghost state or something, and you get to like see things, you know, that you normally wouldn't see, and it's like an interesting idea. I do think that the Doctor was saying that Enterprise does this with Hoshi also.
Yeah, there's like a same sort of transporter malfunction shit going on.
And then I definitely know that the original series, I can't tell you which episode it was, but there's the one where, like, Spock is wearing the spacesuit, you know, the iconic original series spacesuit with the gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
I want one so bad.
You want one? Okay.
I want one. I would totally wear it on the show too. I totally wear it. Anyways, there's that episode where they're phasing, and, like, you know, or he's phased out or whatever of real space. So it's not like the first time Star Trek's done it either.
It's Kirk that phases out of real space.
Oh, is that right? Okay, sorry, I had it confused.
In Web, I think it is. That's what you're talking about.
Oh, that is the episode. That's the B plot or the A plot. That's right. I forgot about that. Time has separated the two events in my mind. I thought that there was like two different episodes.
I don't think it is. There's the eternal question of, like, what is there after death? But, you know, that's kind of unanswerable. But on a more kind of realistic level, there's always this question of what would people say about me once I'm dead, right? Like,
right.
People are all like, you know, I got friends, like a family, but do they really like you? Or are they just going to
yeah, it's
dead, right? And so there's this kind of compelling thing which Ro has this whole arc about. Like, she really wants to know what Riker's going to say about her. Like,
and yeah, and it's interesting because, like, Geordi seems unconcerned with it. I think partially because he's convinced he's not dead.
Okay, maybe he also probably knows that he's awesome, right?
Loved, yeah. He's awesome.
No issues.
There was that really touching.
I have a lack of self-confidence, which means I wouldn't be as confident as I would assume that I was dead as well. I'd be like, oh, fuck this, I'm dead. God damn it.
You know, so you're saying, like, maybe I hope whenever this out of phasingness happens for you, I'm there with you to convince you you're not dead. I'll be the Geordi to your Ro.
I don't know how to take that. Okay.
There was a lot of touching moments in this episode, and I thought, like, one thing I have to say since we do also present critiques, is that like I was extremely distracted by the makeup around Michelle Forbes' eyes, and like this early Bajoran makeup, it's kind of intense. I thought like Kira only has the little, like later Bajorans just have the little ridges on their nose, but it seems like her eyebrows, like, did you ever notice in this once, like in some of these scenes, like she has these really crazy ridges that go across her eyebrows?
I didn't. Okay, so I've never noticed that as being makeup application. I just never thought she was very pretty.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about prettiness. I'm just talking about distracted. Like you're just.
It's just that I never.
You're like, if she's not pretty, I won't look at her. I just listen to her every time she comes on screen. I close my eyes and imagine my wife.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Humans, sometimes we find people more attractive than others, and sometimes, But
I know.
it's just I've never actually noticed.
But I still look at them. I still look at their makeup when they're unattractive.
I can't.
I can't look at L'Rell.
Turn the volume up. I'll listen, but I won't watch.
We might be onto something. There might be something valid here.
I will say something. Like season 2 L'Rell, which is technically they're calling it L'Rell 3.0.
Oh, because she changed. Right when she got the scar. That's right.
It was like normal L'Rell, then she was Scar L'Rell. Now she's this one. I think she's looking a lot better, and I think the makeup is a lot better. But I also like the fact that she's looking more plump. I think they were trying to go for like the skinny, we've been starving out here for quite a while look. But I like the rounded face L'Rell better.
You like Empress L'Rell living her best life.
I do. I also like the song, because so for people that are unaware, Mary Chieffo just released a video in which she was dancing to a
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. That was great.
I find the song horrible. To not be
what?
I find the song to be horrible.
Oh, the song. Okay, gotcha.
But I mean, that's just, I suppose, my tastes.
But you get a great look at Empress L'Rell in that video.
At the costume that she has, and I'm looking forward to seeing that in the series, because they might enhance that a little bit with like a CG or filter or anything. And Shazad Latif is all wearing a Starfleet uniform.
I know.
Which was, spoiler, was it? Maybe.
Anything can happen on Star Trek Discovery is what I've learned. So
anything,
literally anything could happen. So so I'm not even gonna think about it till it airs. Like,
and then we try to not think about it once it's aired, right?
No, we have to have a casual and informal discussion. Speaking of which, Sean, I don't know if I'll have the time, but after we're done talking about this episode, we might. I'd love to like share some thoughts about Calypso.
You want to do like a separate short recording, or do you want to?
I think we should. Yeah. Deal. All right, audience. There's gonna be a separate short recording of Calypso, a bonus feature.
Big boy this week.
There's so much content being produced in like this awesome, because of this awesome TNG episode. Anyways,
something more to say. I was gonna pass on to something else that I've got in my notes, but if you carry on.
No, well, I just wanted to comment on that idea. It's like something I think I personally have grappled with, going back and forth with, and I wouldn't be surprised if like most humans like wonder, like, is there a life after death? And like I think it's like something that like Star Trek tackled in a very interesting and unique way. Like the episode was about that, but there wasn't somehow it wasn't about that. You know what I mean? Like it's about so many things, like all wrapped up into one.
Absolutely. It's just one of those questions that's kind of like it's left hanging in your life, and so I suppose in this context it was much more present. But the episode doesn't focus around that.
I would like there to be an afterlife, and in the afterlife, my personal idea of an afterlife is I would like to wake up and I'm like, it's dark, it's like this weird room or whatever, and like my eyes start adjusting, and I realize that, oh, I'm on the Enterprise D, And I walk out and I look, I look in my quarters, I find a mirror and I see that my rank pip says that I'm the captain. And then I'll just simply stroll onto the bridge and be like, second star to the right and straight on till morning. Engage. What about you? Do you have an idea of the afterlife shot?
I really don't know. I really don't know.
What's the coolest afterlife you've encountered in fiction, or even you can bring religion into this? Like, what is the coolest afterlife that you've encountered in your studies?
Afterlife? I don't know. I don't remember them. What have I encountered afterlife wise? I don't know. They don't.
Well, there's Ragnarok, or not Ragnarok, but like there's like mythological afterlives. Like in Greek mythology, you went either to the Elysian fields or to.
Okay, so in Norse mythology, you got the Valhalla, which is friggin' awesome,
right? That's right. Valhalla is pretty awesome.
All the legends and drinking, and you got
But it's hard to earn a place in Valhalla, right? You have to be a warrior. You have to like kill your enemies. Like there's like quite a few things you have to.
Quite done that yet? I'm worthy. I'm not there yet. I haven't yet killed anyone.
Great. Yet is the operative word.
It is legal to actually provoke someone in a duel in Canada nowadays. Of course, it's illegal to actually kill someone. So, But
you mean I could be mad at you, walk up to you and slap you with a glove in a public place in Canada and be like, I challenge you to a duel. And we shall decide our arguments based on this duel.
Yep. And then we would have to choose our weapons. But then, like, to abide to another law, which is you can't kill me, would have to choose a weapon that is harmless, like, I don't know, like a bottle of champagne, and try to hit each other with a cork or something. But we could do a legal duel.
How about lightsabers? Could we use lightsabers?
Well, just, okay. We'd be hitting each other with sticks. Plastic sticks. Which, fair enough.
Or I think like a good a good one would be laser tag.
Okay.
Laser tag's a good dueling system. Oh wow, because I just learned something about Canada. I know that in America,
because apparently they're recently removing old, useless laws. And so that, like, there was a law that said you can't challenge anyone to a duel, and so this took it away because, like, no one's going to challenge anyone to a duel anyway. It's just not going to happen.
But now that there's no law about it, like, someone might.
Yeah, but then you can't kill anyone, so what's the point, right?
Well, dueling, like you said, safe dueling 2.0. I don't know.
By the way, Worf is very proud of Geordi, and I suppose they don't talk about Ro too much. He's very proud that Geordi died in the line of duty. He's doing his job. He's very happy for him. He's gone to, I suppose the Earth version of Sto-Vo-Kor. But
I think Worf would think that, like, there's a place for pagans, that, like an honorable place for non-Klingons, and that's where Geordi is. It is so interesting that, like, this episode does present various views of the afterlife and kind of evokes those kinds of thoughts. I think it's a great episode if you want to have, like, a discussion about philosophy and religion and science, and, like, there's just so much in here. Now going back to the
you asked me about afterlife, right? I don't know what I would want or what I would desire, but I'll tell you what, it would be okay. So the classic, it would be great to see all the the people that have already died. So you're reunited with loved ones that have passed on, etc. If you have, like, a family, a wife and children, you'd like to see them join you. And I would also like to still have access to all of the new movies that come out and stuff, because, like, if I were to die now, I wouldn't see Avengers 4, right?
Oh, right.
And that would.
But suck. Like, okay, so I would
like everything to be. Like, I would like a heaven streaming service where I can stream all of my movies and TV shows and listen to my music. Because it would be a bummer if your favorite artist just like puts out his best album, but you did, right? Can't listen to it.
Well, you could just wait till they die, and then you'll meet them in the afterlife, and then.
Well, maybe not. You don't know how afterlife is. Maybe you're in like a kiddo, and he's in the VIP lounge.
I think that there's something to. I think that there's something that at the very least humans have glimpsed another possibility, right? Like, there's people that have claimed to have come back from the dead. There's people who have claimed to to
that though. It all is just claims though.
Of course, but I mean, it's just like one of those things that, like, as long as written history has been concerned, there's always been some kind of myth about, what happens after we die. And I think it's wonderful. I mean, like, I think, like, trying to explain, like, if you really think about life, if you were to just strip away the imagination for a moment and just like look at life completely from an objective lens, if you can. It's hard because we're not, we're living it, right? But think about it, like, you're hanging out, you're talking to someone, and all of a sudden, like, a meteorite comes from the sky and hits them in the head, and they plop down.
Right?
Meteorite.
Yeah, I mean,
my example has to be a little imaginative, right? Because I'm trying to describe something that I'm trying to remove all imagination from this example, but I have to have the meteorite, right? So then all of a sudden that person you were talking to is laying there motionless, and you have no more access to their thoughts or their feelings or anything like that. You have no access to this person at all. So what does that look like? Like, what do you like, like, what is that like? It's like 1 minute. Where are they? Their body's here, but like what inhabited their body is no longer present, right? And we feel this like idea of like, oh, like, surely my thoughts and things like that live on after I die. All of us feel that at some point.
Think about the 12 or 13 grams, right? Do you remember that? Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah, there's like all kinds of stories and tales, but I do remember that, like, supposedly you lighten.
Yeah. So when you die, of course, you lose all of your, internal stuff. You pee, you poo, and everything comes out, right? But then you're left with the body that's emptied, basically. But then they figured out that you still lose like a certain 13 grams, 12 point, however it is. And it's the same amount for like basically every body. And so people have theorized that that's the soul leaving. Which is interesting.
It's super interesting. I don't know. I just feel like one thing that's an interesting practice.
Leave us.
What's that?
Our internal Ro Larrens leave us because we did, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All I know is that whatever it is, it's I like kind of agree with Worf that like to die is an awfully big adventure, right? It's like it's the ultimate. I wouldn't want to die. I like really enjoy life, but I know that when it's time, whenever that is, whether it's being struck by a meteor or whatever, that I feel pretty ready to like discover whatever's next, even if it's oblivion, because even that in itself is a discovery, right?
I like the way you think, but I think it is nice to have that positivity and optimism still for the end of life, right? For the end of what our life is. Because as much as it is intriguing and you can find optimism and delight in discovering what comes next, you still want to live a full life, right? You still want to finish this life. You can, because then you're missing out on so much in this life.
Yeah, it's true. I think that Ro wasn't very happy with the with the party in general, and I'm very curious to know what kind of funeral. Right? What's that?
It's better than 2 hours of Bajoran chanting.
It's true.
I don't know. I think she was more concentrated on like what Riker was gonna say. She really wanted to know what he was gonna say.
I think they were trying to like this. I mean, well, there was that episode where they have this like when they lose their minds or their memories rather, and so they just think they're lovers. So there's definitely a connection between the two.
So I was talking about this with my wife. She's just like, did they have 6 one day, and I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were doing it all that episode. That episode where they remember
they were technically not themselves; they were beside themselves, right?
Right, but they still engaged in the physical. I mean, the deed is done.
The physical.
It doesn't matter that they were out of their minds. It still happened. It just wasn't something they would do in their normal minds, I suppose.
But you think there's like a latent
there must be like an attraction, because I think even out of your mind, to like kind of go off what you were saying earlier about not finding Michelle Forbes attractive, but I think that like even when you're not in your right mind,
I wouldn't make love to say Donald Trump.
Right, exactly. I don't think you'd have to be really screwed up to like like the kind of like I don't know I don't even know how to describe what you'd have to be to do that, but it's
besides yourself, to say the
least. Yes. Anyways,
fair enough.
Did you happen to see my photos of the Kelvin Enterprise yet?
Yes. I saw them.
Did you like them? What'd you think?
I like your photos. I very much like photos. I like the ability that you have to take macro photos, because I find them very complicated to do. When I was a child, I collected Hot Wheels cars, and I always wanted to take like hyper realistic macro photos of my Hot Wheels cars, but my camera was too cheap and crappy, so it wouldn't look good. But then I am fascinated by this. There's a trend that exists on the internet, which is to take like macro photos of hyper realistic toys or miniatures, and they fool you into thinking they're actually real, like a boat or a spaceship or something.
Well, Star Wars. There's a lot of Star Wars art like that, photography art.
Yeah,
I think it's really beautiful like that.
Shows that.
Yeah, if I had like a lot of resources, I would have actually shot these against a black background and probably simulated.
That's the one thing that I think is missing. You have to redo a photo shoot there with a space background or a planet background or something.
Well, maybe Eagle Moss will fly me out to their studios and let me play with their equipment.
Tell you what, Eagle Moss should release a one time, like a background, a backdrop for your favorite ship. Say, put your favorite like put it in there, like there's a planet or something, and so you can like put the ship you want in when you're taking pictures, and then you can display your favorite ship in that one each time. That would be nice.
I think this one has a blurry enough background where it could totally be in a nebula.
Maybe it's because I know what the background is that I don't see it, but yeah, okay.
What is that background? What is the background?
It's your desk in your office, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a computer.
Yeah.
It's good.
But,
all right.
But no, I do like the photos.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring them up so I could show them off a little bit. It was fun to do the. What I have to say though is that like the ultimate credit, regardless of like the reason it was fun to do this and why I wanted to do is that the models, they're not perfect by any means. However, they are good enough to like create imagery that I think is very close to the feeling you get when you're watching these ships on cinema. Because that's the thing, is that like, one thing I love about this Enterprise in particular, and we really are going way off, so I'll stop, I'll just kind of say this real quick, is that as an alternate version of the Enterprise, I think it nails it in terms of like the feeling with the lines and everything. It's so bizarre looking from some angles, but from other angles, it looks absolutely perfect. And so I really like it. And especially, I think it was designed to be photographed with these weird kind of like lenses and things like that, because it photographs beautifully with them. Yeah.
9 anyway. I think they do a lot of weird angles in Star Trek 09.
In the 2009, yeah, exactly.
I think like most people, when Star Trek 09 came out, I didn't know what to think, and so I didn't like it. I defaulted to this isn't Star Trek, I don't like it. And look, in retrospect, I quite like Star Trek 09 now. It's Into Darkness that I have a lot of problems with. But I think, when I look at it now, I find the Kelvin timeline's aesthetic to be just how it should be. It is the Kelvin timeline. It doesn't please me as much as the aesthetic of the Prime timeline, but for what it's supposed to be and for what it's trying to be, then I can't take that away from it. It works. I don't like the Enterprise ships from the Kelvin timeline too much, but they are Kelvin ships.
Yeah, it's they don't infringe on your idea of what the Prime timeline is.
They build the Star Trek universe in a way that I suppose nothing else has done before. So they innovated.
More first times. All right, so are we ready? There's nothing else that I have in my notes except that I did think that it was like I did think that Captain Picard took it all very well. Like, he did tell the nice story about Geordi. Oh, so, I know you're right. Go ahead.
No. I'm gonna bounce off what you said. He took it very well, right? He took it very well. He was very professional about the whole thing, and actually, the whole crew was right. They just lost two valued members of their crew. One of them, which they've known for a long, long time, but they continue doing their job all very professionally. They have to save these Romulan people. They have to, help the ship and what have you. And I think that ties into what the marketing team behind Discovery have been saying about the Star Trek Evolved. They've been saying that in the original series and the Next Generation, we have this reset button where in every episode, the crew is back to normal and, they don't seem to remember or be impacted by what happened before. And so the Discovery production team were trying to better represent how the events of your life kind of impact you in Discovery. And my argument always was, well, Kirk and Picard and their crews are like the top brass, right? The highest of Starfleet, which is in itself the highest of humans. And so these guys are professionals. Whatever happens to them one week, they have to put that aside and carry on their job correctly the next week. And that's why we have this kind of reset button. And I think this illustrates this very well. They lose Geordi and Ro, but they carry on doing their job.
I just would have liked to have seen a scene with tears, I guess. I don't know, like one of them crying for, What's that?
I have it resonated a little more, like the impact.
Just a little bit more, especially Geordi. Like I could get like why maybe Ro perhaps they weren't as attached to, but like I feel like by season 5 they've been through, Geordi's been tortured so many times and like, but like, they're playing poker together
without necessarily going straight to tears. They could have had this thing where like when the transporter chief announces like I've lost them, you would have this kind of moment where maybe Riker and Picard, they have this moment, not necessarily where they look at each other, but where they kind of like, oh shit. Because when the death of a friend is announced, it comes as a blow, right? From experience,
right? And
you feel like you get hit in the face.
And it seems like also I think also another thing that like if I'm really gonna dive in a little deeper is that like in past episodes when there's a transporter accident, it's not to say that this has to happen every time, but there's at least some sort of like biological residue or something, like they don't just like get zapped into oblivion, I don't think.
Right, because they were technically transported somewhere else.
Right.
Or they were fucked, right? So there was no residue to have because there was no problem. It's just they became cloaked.
Right. And so it gave me the sense of almost like they were just like, oh well, Geordi and Ro are dead. Like, oh well. C'est la vie. Captain, don't you think it's odd that there was no biological residue? Odd. Why would I find that odd?
Hope not. Brian wasn't there. They didn't have a Brian.
They didn't have it. Chief O'Brien would have been all over that shit. It's so true. It's so true.
He would have had an emotional tear arc. He would have cried. He would have gone to see Keiko and cried in his quarters because he lost.
A scene like that, perhaps it's true. Yeah. Well, especially and that kind of reminded me that there's really not any other characters in engineering besides Geordi that we actually get to know, other than like, I mean, and Chief O'Brien's not necessarily an engineer. He's like a transporter chief. So it's like he doesn't become an engineer until he's on Deep Space Nine. So it's
Now that you say that, it's interesting. They could have used that character because they have this kind of replacement chief engineer, this replacement transporter chief.
Mm-hmm.
We know nothing about her except the fact that she's just essentially replacing O'Brien. It would have been interesting to have her have like this kind of breakdown throughout the episode. Like, they put me on duty this week, and I friggin' lost the chief engineer.
The chief engineer.
and just have her have this mental breakdown and have more scenes with Deanna Troi where she's like, you know, I killed these people.
Like,
I feel bad
right.
about this. And you have to like counsel her and say, look, this happens. It just turns it was, bad luck, I suppose.
Right. So I think that's where the episode kind of like, I think it had to sacrifice certain things in order to get so much information. Like it's pretty like I said earlier, I think it's
arc. There was so much going on.
Yeah, so I think that it would have been nice to just have like maybe even Counselor Troi like, in 10 forward during the funeral crying, like even though it's a party, like if she breaks down and starts crying, I think it would have been the right note to give us just that balance of like, because not everyone's gonna like want to have a party, right? Some people really do want to mourn.
Show people. Okay, so what if we had done this in 2 episodes, and throughout the first episode we hadn't seen Ro and Geordi at all, and we assumed that they were actually dead. And the first
right
was everyone dealing with it, and in the second episode, like the teaser that they have in the beginning is, oh my god, they're actually there. And then
right, like the ending of the first episode is they actually meet each other, and they're like, "Wait a second, you can see me." Like this whole thing, yeah, it would have been really cool. That would have been really great. But of course, the 2-parter this season was unification, so I think they didn't have any more 2-parters. What's that?
Time Zero.
Yeah, part 1 of Time Zero is this season, and part 2 is the beginning of next season. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that like that was the only thing. What's that?
This would have been a better 2-part episode than Unification.
Oh, come on. You and your Spock hate, man. Like, you really gotta stop. You just love him. Just love Spock, man. Like, embrace Spock. Embrace Spock. Like, come on. I remember you're pissed that that Star Trek is about Spock. Star Trek is about Spock, damn it.
The same way the X-Men franchise is about Wolverine. Pisses me off.
Anyway, so I'm glad we both saw that.
It's all about the same friggin' family.
I know. Well, you got to focus on something, right?
Well, look at the Wizarding World. They haven't made everything about Harry Potter. Now they've made like another franchise, which is about other people. I know.
Which, by the way, I highly recommend.
I haven't seen it.
The Crimes of Grindelwald.
I haven't seen it. Post-credit scenes.
Oh, you know what?
I missed that.
I didn't even think to wait for a post-credit scene.
Apparently, there was like some big shit. Okay, I haven't seen it. I'm going.
There was. Hold on. So wait. There was a post-credit scene in the first one?
No.
But there was one in this. There is one in this one?
Yes, because
now I was like, oh, they don't do that, so I left. I should never have left. I should.
This is big shit. This is big.
It is pretty big. All right, Sean. Anything else?
I've been a huge Harry Potter fan. Like I'm all right with the movies, but Fantastic Beasts, I'm a fanboy. I love that.
Oh, nice!
It's amazing.
You could pull off. You could pull off a Newt Scamander or a Theseus Scamander cosplay.
A what?
Newt Scamander, the main character.
Okay, and what's the other?
Or his brother? His brother's name is Theseus. That's in the trailer. You don't. I'm not spoiling anything. If you watch the what's that?
Watch trailers because they spoil things.
You don't watch trailers? That's bullshit. You did a whole review on the Star Trek Discovery trailer.
Discovery trailers because I have to get them viewed. No, I watch teasers. I watch small snippets. Or if I watch a trailer, it's because the movie I don't really care about and I can be spoiled, like Dark Phoenix.
Tell us how you really feel about the Dark Phoenix. Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix.
Sean.
You really feel about the Dark Phoenix?
No, I really don't want to know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. What I want to know is, do you have any more notes on this episode?
I don't. What have I don't have any more notes. Oh, I said the sound effect of passing through is a little weird. Yeah. So passing through. Okay, so passing through like an object, computer or something. They have this kind of thing, which is fine. But then when you're passing through another human, it's kind of weird to have that. I would expect a more biological sound. We don't know how phasing works, so
like, what would it by? What kind of like?
I really
would it be like a fart? Would it be like a fart every time they walk through? Every time they walk through a human, there's a fart sound because of the air.
Okay, I've also written there was a very 90s running through the walls scene.
Oh yeah,
because they have that in movies where they run through the walls, but usually they break through the walls and stuff. But this time they were just phasing through the walls, and it was the science fiction version of a 90s running through the walls scene. And I like that.
Yeah,
so,
good.
Cool. Though it is like a science fiction show, it has a tendency to be a time capsule of the time they were created in.
It's true. We do see people just chilling in their quarters in that scene that you're talking about. And there's this one guy who's doing like push-ups. There's like all kinds of like
whatever.
There's a bath, right? Wasn't there a bath going on or something like that? And then this intimate dinner where they have no idea that everyone's fighting
and running through the dinner.
That's so funny. So that was good too. All right, cool.
You got to be
well since
you can't get your freak on everywhere because maybe there's royal error and it's going to be running through your quarters at some point, right?
Well, if there are ghosts, it kind of freaks me out that they could just be like watching you in your most intimate moments, just chilling, and you would have no idea.
One of my best friends at work keeps on telling me to put my hand in front of my mouth when I yawn because he says if you don't do that, then a ghost will put his penis in your mouth. So, I mean, how does that got now? You got like ghosts floating around.
That is information that we didn't need to know about on Starfleet, but now it's forever recorded in the
edit this.
It's here. You can give credit to your good friend who came up with this ghost theory because it's actually quite horrifying and brilliant. So
and it has a tendency to make you really want to cover your mouth when you yawn.
Yeah, just the visual alone, even though I am gay, of a ghost putting its penis in my mouth makes me not want to yawn without covering my mouth.
It has nothing to do with this. This is like a ghost that you don't want, right? Floating around.
So do you think if they actually were in an afterlife and they were stuck on the Enterprise, they'd just go and like do things like awful things, like try to stick their private parts in like our beloved crew's mouths? Like, do you think Geordi would just...
I don't think they would. No, I don't think they're too capable of that. And I actually specific pairing of characters would take quite a while before they would get intimate. I'm assuming they would, because if you're stuck with just one person for the rest of your life, you probably would. But I think they would take, time. It's not like Ro and Riker. They would be like, what are you going to do? Like, we're bored. Let's just...
Well, we're dead anyways.
Yeah.
My rank doesn't matter anymore. Okay. All right. So I will go first, as is customary. Let's see if Humbert gave a more specific rating, but I reckon his rating for this episode is under 5, under 4.
Not allowed to reckon his rating. That doesn't count. That doesn't count in the.
Well, I'll just tell you what he wrote. When I said, I'm curious about your rating, he says, poor Sean, I've never fully seen this episode, but what I have isn't pretty. Enterprise did a similar. So I'm guessing his rating is very low, but it doesn't count. It doesn't count though. But I just wanted to bring it in. Dismissed. Right. Dismissed. However,
I enjoyed the episode.
We are counting. Excellent. However, we are counting the rating from my little Twitter poll. So as of this moment, 5 people have voted, and all of the votes are above 6. 40% of the votes are between 6 and 7, and 60% of the votes give it between 8 and 10.
Okay.
Oh, now it's 67% between 8 and 10. So it just went up. That's crazy. Live right now, it's going up.
Not really live because you're gonna upload this in what? How long? Don't know yet.
So my rating for this episode, because it was fun and you know, like kind of cool to watch, I gave it above a 5 for sure. It's not an episode that I really watch. Like I don't think about this episode to go watch, so it can't get a 10. Like it's not on the list of like, oh, I definitely want to see this episode again. I kind of remember everything I need to know about it and got everything I wanted out of it. And I didn't find any really new things in this rewatch that I didn't already think about before. Although I did have fun talking to you about it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this episode a 7.5, a good old solid 7.5 for this episode.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give it a 7.5 as well.
Whoa, it's a rare occurrence where we're exactly aligned.
I was gonna say 8, and then I was gonna say 7 by the end of the discussion, but then I thought it would be, you know, it's nice to do. We do 7.5 together.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah. So that was awesome. All right.
It does have small issues, but you know, I enjoy it. This is the kind of story that you can do without having like an action-packed story. But then it is good. I love the scheming Romulans, and the visuals are great. Oh, and there's this one moment where he's like, Geordi has just discovered that he can be fixed by the thingamajig, and his hand has more trouble phasing through the disc or the console. And the CG was really well done in that moment where he tries to put his hand in and it doesn't quite go in.
Right, and you actually kind of like exactly. No, I thought so too. All right, sweet, man.
Boom.
Audience, tell us what you think in the comments below, and please, there's actually a lot of cool new content since the last time we spoke up on Sean's YouTube page, Trek on the Tube. Very, very nice videos up there. Go check them out. There's the Easter eggs for Calypso, the Discovery review and Easter eggs, which is pretty cool. And did you do your video for the Section 31 show yet?
No, I probably won't be doing it. I know I said I would be doing a video about that, but I probably won't.
But I changed my mind.
Yeah, apparently it's just rumors more than anything else, and Michelle Yeoh's involvement is absolutely not confirmed.
Gotcha.
It's more like a wish list thing.
It's exciting to. Well, it's exciting to see all the hubbub that occurred about it because a lot of people got all excited about it, and I don't blame them. Michelle Yeoh is pretty cool. I do want to see her.
I love Michelle Yeoh. I don't like Emperor Georgia.
Well, you're not supposed to. She's an awful.
No, I think that Emperor Yeoh.
She's like an awful person.
I think
she's she's the worst human possible.
Michelle Yeoh is a very talented actor. She's absolutely amazing.
But you liked Captain Giorgio, right?
I love Captain Giorgio. I think Captain Giorgio is amazing.
That's why Michelle Yeoh's amazing.
I think Captain Giorgio is a character that suits Michelle Yeoh and suits her talents. And I think that sometimes, as great as an actor can be, sometimes they just don't, you know, match or suit the characters or the roles that they're given. And I think that that's the case for Emperor Giorgio. I'm not convinced by her performance as the Emperor. I'm
not convinced that it's a bad performance. Anyways, we could talk about it more on our Calypso discussion. A quickie coming up. All right, everybody. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.